it's Cassandra and I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys all the books that I read in the month of March. March was one of the best months I've had in a while, ever since I hit my reading slump that just won't go away. And I'm super proud that I managed to read more than 10 books, since my goal was always to surpass 10 books a month. And it's been quite a few months since I've met that goal. But the month of March was a pretty good reading month, rating wise as well. I gave a lot of 4 and 5 stars. I've read some of my most favorite books ever, and I'm so excited to show you guys what those are. If you follow me on Instagram, then you probably already know what books are going to make it to this wrap up. But if you don't follow me, definitely make sure to check out my links in the description box, and let's just get right into it. The first book that I read was Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer. Just holding this book makes me go back to all the wonderful feelings this book made me feel. This book follows a girl whose mom has just passed away, but she still writes letters to her. And one day this guy, Declan, replies to one of her letters that wasn't meant to be read, and it just follows them as they start sending each other letters. And I am so obsessed with these characters. Declan and what's her name? Juliet are definitely one of my most favorite couples ever now. The things that they both have gone through in their past was just heartbreaking, and I just couldn't find a fault to their relationship. They definitely brought out the best in each other, and I think they were just meant to be together. And their character developments on their own were just mind-blowing. And it's no surprise I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was my first Bridget Kemmerer novel. I'm going to be stalking her from now on. I love the way their relationship began by writing each other letters, which leads me to its companion, aka sequel, More Than We Can Tell. This is the next book that I read in March, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars as well. This follows Declan's best friend, whose name is Rev. We get to uncover a lot of his backstory, which is infinitely times more heartbreaking than the backstories in the first book, which completely took me by surprise because I didn't think it would get any more brutal, but it did. The way that Bridget writes her novels makes these characters feel so real. This is a companion to the first book. It can be read as a standalone, but these two are definitely my favorite books of all time. The character developments in both of these novels was outstanding, and Declan and Juliet met by writing each other letters. Rev and Emma kind of take the letters from the first book and twist them into their own story. This is another one where I was completely 100% rooting for these two to get together. They were just so good together. There's also trigger warnings for bullying and abuse. And Emma actually created her own game, so if that intrigues any of you guys, definitely give this book a try. I loved it so much, and Rev is just a character that I cannot and will not get out of my head. He broke my heart, but he made me feel so protective of him. I wish I could just give him a hug, but you know. And also Bloomsbury was kind enough to send me an advance reader copy of this novel, which I'm so appreciative for, because it's definitely one of the best novels I've ever read. The next book that I read was Instructions for a Secondhand Heart, and this is by Tamsin Murray. I forgot to tell you guys, this came out on March 6th, so you guys can definitely go read it right now. This is one that came out last year, but it did take me quite a few months to read it, but I gave it 3.7 out of 5 stars. This follows Johnny, who has lived in the hospital for most of his life. His heart is hooked onto a machine, and that's the only way that he's actually alive. But one day he gets a heart transplant, and the heart actually came from Neve's twin brother, Leo. And it follows Johnny as he tries to figure out who Leo is, since it is supposed to be a secret. But he dives into this investigation and then stumbles upon Neve, and it just follows them as they meet each other. I really liked the premise of this novel, and I really liked Johnny. But Neve was the one that I had a huge problem with. I did not like her character whatsoever. I really tried, but I just couldn't make myself like her. She's supposed to be this sarcastic, always telling it like it is type of person. And don't get me wrong, I love those type of characters, but the way she did it just came out as mean, evil, and I don't know, Johnny didn't deserve to be treated that way. It's supposed to be a quirk, but it not feel that way. The thing that I really loved was the fact that Johnny actually drew comics. She's so loud when she's drinking water. Okay, let's try this again. So Johnny actually draws comics, and I loved connecting to him in that way since he talks about some of my favorite anime, and I just really loved the fact that I could connect with him through his love for manga and anime. The next book that I read was Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas, and oh my god, I cannot believe I am all caught up with this series. I've tried so hard not to catch up with this series because I was waiting for the last book to come out and just binge them all the way through. But of course that didn't happen because spoilers are everywhere, and I just told myself to read them so I can avoid them all. And oh my god, I am so glad I did, because Tower of Dawn is definitely one of my favorite books of hers. Okay, I did not care for Chaol whatsoever in the entire series, but then this book came and I'm actually really invested in his story. If you haven't read the series, the Throne of Glass series follows Selena and this amazing cast of supportive characters that I can't even get into because there are just too many and they are just so amazing. But there's Chaol, and this is his novel, and this one came out after the 5th book, and you are supposed to read it before you read the 6th book, even though it's not a direct sequel to it. But it introduced a whole new cast of characters that I have fallen immensely in love with. But I gave this 20 out of 5 stars. Seriously, Sarah J. Maas novels fall way after the 5-star mark in my book. I'm super grateful that this book made me appreciate a character that I never really liked to begin with. And I can't wait for the last book to come out because I can't wait for this cast of characters to meet the rest of the cast. It's just gonna be insane and I can't wait. My world is just gonna implode and explode all at once. The character developments and the character relationships, everything was out of this world. I don't really know what to say, but that this is pretty amazing. Next up, I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I was sent this book by Blogging for Books, which is a website where you were able to request books, but sadly is now shut down. So this is the last book that I got to request from them, and I fell in love. This is a genre I don't really touch because I am so scared that I will not understand it whatsoever. But I am so glad that I gave this book a chance because it is now one of the best books that I've ever read. If you don't know what this is about, it follows Wade Watts as he is hunting for an Easter egg in this game called Oasis. And by finding that Easter egg, you get complete control of Oasis. That's just the short version, but I don't really want to spoil anything else. This book was intense and brutal. I actually listened to the audiobook for this one, this is basically my first audiobook that I ever listened to outside of Sarah J. Maas. And it took me a while to actually get used to the narrator. I didn't really like him in the beginning. But I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. I had a lot of problems with it in the beginning. I didn't care for the dialogue. I didn't care for the characters. I just wasn't invested, and it took me hitting the halfway point to actually start getting into it. And I am just so glad that I didn't give up on this midway because it paid off in the end so much. And I'm obsessed with this world and these characters, and I can't stop raving about them. I highly recommend this book to anyone and everyone that is willing to give it a try, because as someone who is not a gamer and is not into sci-fi, this is one of my favorite books ever. And I have to thank my best friend Lindsay for hyping this book up for me from the very beginning. I loved it. The next book I read was an ebook, and it was sent to me by Candy Steiner, and that is What He Doesn't Know. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars as well, and it is the first book in a duology. And it does have a love triangle, which I love, but oh my god, this trio was insane. So this book follows Charlie, who is married to Cameron, and their marriage is kind of going downhill when we meet her. And it doesn't help that her childhood crush, Reese, comes back into her life, and basically it just starts creating chaos. Charlie starts hanging out with Reese and stuff happens. It just follows this trio as they try and figure out where they want to end up in life. And it is so full of angst, obviously. And it might come as no surprise that my favorite one was Reese. Cameron, I did not care for him. The way that he treated Charlie was just not something that I was okay with. I really loved seeing the relationship between Charlie and Reese kind of rekindle from the last time that they saw each other. I can't say much without giving it all away, but I'll just say that I really loved this book. And I'll tell you guys a little bit more about the duology itself later on in this video. But next up, I read Fade to Us by Julia Day. This one came out in January, and Wednesday Books was kind enough to send me an advanced reader copy of it. This book follows Brooke. Her summer is kind of stolen by the fact that her stepsister Natalie is coming to live with them during the summer, and Brooke has to take care of Natalie since Natalie has Asperger's. And I really liked learning about a mental disability that I don't think I've read about before. And I just really enjoyed the relationship between these two. I loved reading about Brooke's thoughts when it came to her sister. I could really tell how much she cared for her and how much she was willing to give up to make Natalie comfortable. I really liked Natalie. Oh my god, she's one of my favorite characters ever. It follows both of them as they work on this play, and they both get attached to the production stage manager in different ways. We just get to see how they fare with that. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars since I really didn't connect to anybody in a deep personal level, but there were a lot of things that I wasn't okay with. Let's just say that some of the character actions kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Next up, I read No Filter by Orla Collins. I was sent this book by Bloomsbury and it came out in March, and it follows Emerald, who tries to appear the perfect person on social media, but in real life she's anything but. I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the fact that Emerald described people in Instagram filters. It was something unique that I haven't read before. But her summer is also kind of stolen when she has to move with her grandmother in Scotland, I believe. She meets this guy Liam, and this is so embarrassing, but one of the reasons why I didn't give this a higher rating was because I didn't really understand Scottish lingo. I had a lot of trouble keeping up with it, and I didn't really know what they were talking about most of the time. The romance between them was pretty adorable, but I wasn't really hardcore rooting for them either. This was another book where I struggled to really connect with the characters. Maybe it was because of their age, but besides the setting and the beautiful descriptions of this beach town, there wasn't really much that made it any memorable. So next up, I read What He Always Knew by Candy Steiner, and this is the direct sequel and conclusion to What He Doesn't Know. And in this one, it follows Charlie as she is forced to choose between Cameron and Reese. She is given 2 months with these two guys before she has to make a choice, and it brought the angst level from the first book to a whole new one. Let's just say that there were a lot of tears, a lot of anger, and a lot of sweet moments. This book made me appreciate Cameron in a way that I never thought I actually would. But Reese is still my favorite one out of both of them, and I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Candy Steiner has become one of my favorite romance authors. These two were my first reads of hers, and I can't wait to read more. Her writing definitely left me hooked. And the next book that I read was Given to the Sea by Mindy McGinnis. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars, and it's the first book in this duology. It follows an amazing cast of characters that I am now absolutely obsessed with. We have Casa, who has always known that this would be her fate, to give birth to the next given, then dance into the sea, and to her death. Then we have Vincent, who prepares himself to sit on a throne he doesn't want, with a queen he didn't choose by his side. Dara and Donald, who are adopted by the royal family and are the last of their kind. The Indiri race was slaughtered by the Pietra, and now Dara and Donald must forge a new path alone. Then we have Wit, who is the Lithos, leader of the Pietra, a people as hard as the stone shores they inhabit. He believes that the only way to secure a future for the Pietra is to take it from someone else. All of these characters that I just mentioned were phenomenal. I couldn't choose which point of view I liked the most because they were all amazing. I also have never read a book about a girl who dances to the sea, so it was pretty interesting to read through her point of view as a girl who knows that she's gonna die after she gives birth to a given. We have Dara and Donald who have some amazing powers of their own. And I know Wit is supposed to be the leader of these warriors who just take whatever territories they like, but I really wasn't expecting to love Wit as much as I did. And the last book that I read was Given to the Earth by Mindy McGinnis. This is the conclusion to this duology. I was sent both of these books by Penguin Random House since I agreed to be part of the blog tour, and I am so glad that I did. This is my favorite duology of all time, and I don't even know where to start. I gave this book 6 out of 5 stars, and as brutal as I thought Given to the Sea was, it was nothing compared to Given to the Earth. All of these characters became even more amazing in this book, and I actually have a favorite now, which is Donald. My heart belongs to him. All of these characters are forced to make a decision of what they want their lives to mean as they find out that the sea is becoming one of their worst enemies. This book was brutal in so many ways. I'm still not over everything that happened in the end. It took heartbreak to a whole new level. So those are all the books that I read in the month of March. If you've read any of these books, definitely let me know down below. But let me know what books you've read in the month of March and which ones were your favorite ones. I can't really choose favorites from this video, but I can say that the heartbreak with this one, it's still pretty present in my heart. So this has to win. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching me trying to keep track of all of my feelings. But I'll see you guys on the next video, and I hope you guys have an amazing week. Bye!